The first and most effective starting point of healing is a focus on that problem that you're trying to resolve or heal from. And as difficult and traumatic as that connection can be, you cannot heal without starting at that point of connection. When your leg is bleeding, you cannot hide that wound and heal it, because the only effective healing is by disturbing it and cleaning it and then bandaging it properly after it's been cleansed and treated. Our emotional wounds are the same. You cannot run away from pain and heal it. You cannot run away from grief and resolve it. And the same goes for heartbreak and misery and trauma of any other kind. You have to move closer to it and look right into it and acknowledge it before you walk away from it. But sadly, our natural inclination is always one of two things that make us struggle with the act of healing. The first thing that makes us struggle with healing is when we hug it. We cry about that thing, rightfully so. And then we talk about it. And then we moan about it. And then we talk about it some more. And before we know it, we wake up and it has become a daily morning and evening routine and discussion and acknowledgement in our lives. So much so that our hearts and our minds and our language and our thoughts have become accustomed to those words and feelings and attributions that we give to them in our lives. This person did this to me. This person didn't do this to me. This mistake cost me this. This mistake didn't get me here. And the more you repeat that language, the more you become that person. The more you embrace those feelings and those emotions. And the longer it takes for you to get out of it, because you're injecting more and more and more of it into your life by pronouncement and acknowledgement and your everyday living and routine and language. And that is the ways in which we compromise our own healing, by becoming our own enemies in the way we invest and inject those things and those people and those thoughts and language into our lives. The other ways in which we compromise our healing is by denying to look into those things. We pretend that they didn't happen, or that they did happen but they didn't hurt us badly enough, because those people do not own us, because we don't care whether they turned up, because we don't see that we matter or that they matter or that those incidents defined us. And so by some form of denial, whether it's ruled by pride or stereotype or our own inability to recognize and acknowledge the things that we are going through, we fail to resolve them because we fail to acknowledge and see the impact of those in our lives. We fail to connect them to the misery and the pain and the stagnation that we are feeling. And so by our own doing, we have come to live with those things. By failing to see their presence in our lives and resolve them, they remain with us for longer than needs to be. So whether you're hugging and holding on to and repeating, or denying and failing to acknowledge and discuss and resolve, we are the keepers of those events, those people, and those feelings and emotions and definitions eventually by the way we act towards them. It is said that the trauma does not define you, but it's the impact on you, and even more so, your attitude towards it. Yes, that horrible thing happens, and there's nothing you can do about it except your reaction towards it. Whether you're acknowledging or denying, you become the hater. You become the one that diminishes, the one that hurts you, the one that inflicts and keeps you stagnant in that position of pain. So the very first step of effective healing requires you to connect with that source of that pain, to connect with that need for growth by accepting that you're stagnated, you're limited, you're hurting, you're itching. You need to be somewhere else because this place where you are now is not good enough because you experienced something, because you failed to experience something, or because you're still experiencing that thing now. And without that awareness and that acknowledgement and honest look into it, you are struggling to move on. Not because of what they did or who they are or where they are, but because of where you are and what you're doing and what you're failing to do. So you are the champion of your healing. And the first step of that healing is at your doorstep. That acknowledgement of what it is that you're feeling. And sometimes you don't even need to know where it's coming from. You just need to know that I'm hurting, I'm broken, I'm itching, I'm limited, I'm powerless, and I need to do something about this. And when you speak that clear language to your mind, it will set it free from that hold of pain or that vacuum of denial that you've been feeding it. When you release your mind with the command to move, to change, to grow, to heal, then that is your first step of healing that has been planted. And then you can get into the next processes of moving yourself into the actual path and implementation of what needs to be done by first of all telling yourself that something needs to be done. And it needs to be done now, and it needs to be done by you. Because everyone needs healing. And if you're sitting there telling yourself that you're fine and you don't need healing of any form, then that is one of the things that you need to resolve. That's that voice of denial or ignorance that tells you that you've never experienced any self-doubt, any neglect, any pain, any trauma, whether it happens directly to you or to someone you love, and sitting in the corner of your mind, limiting you, scaring you, creating some level of anxiety and holdback that you may not even connect to that thing. Everybody needs to heal. Everybody needs to be able to stand on their firm feet, and whatever that means to you, whether it's moving away or finding someone to lean on. It all starts with you acknowledging that something is wrong and that something needs to change and that action needs to come from you.